Have you ever cried during a movie? Felt emotional over a small comment? Or suddenly teared up while listening to music? And then immediately thought, why am I so emotional? Why can't I control my tears like other people? But what if crying easily is not weakness at all? What if psychology says it actually reveals something powerful about your brain, emotions, and personality? Because people who cry easily are often misunderstood. Some are called too sensitive. Some are judged as emotionally weak. But science and psychology tell a very different story. In this video, we'll uncover the real psychology behind people who cry easily, what it says about their mind, their emotional intelligence, their hidden struggles, and why some of the strongest people cry the most. And trust me, fact number 6 might completely change the way you see emotional people forever. Part 1. Crying is the brain's emotional release system. First, let's understand something important. Humans are the only creatures on Earth that cry emotional tears. Not pain tears, not dust-in-the-eye tears, emotional tears. Psychologists believe crying is actually the brain's built-in emotional release system. When emotions become too intense, sadness, stress, love, frustration, loneliness, even happiness, the brain releases tears to reduce emotional pressure. In simple words, crying is the mind's emergency exit. And people who cry easily usually have nervous systems that react more deeply to emotional experiences. They don't fake emotions. They genuinely feel things more intensely than others. A harsh sentence that one person forgets in minutes might stay in an emotional person's mind for days. And surprisingly, research suggests emotional crying can lower stress hormones and help the body return to emotional balance. So sometimes, crying is not losing control. It's the body trying to heal itself. Part 2. People who cry easily are often highly empathetic. One of the biggest psychological traits linked to crying easily is empathy. These people absorb emotions around them like a sponge. If someone near them is sad, they feel it deeply. If they watch emotional videos, their brain reacts almost as if the event is happening to them personally. This is because highly empathetic people often have stronger emotional responsiveness in certain parts of the brain. That's why some people cry while watching strangers reunite online, seeing old parents happy, or even listening to emotional stories. Their tears are not irrational. Their brain simply connects deeply with human emotions. And honestly, the world often needs more people like this, because people who feel deeply are usually the same people who care deeply. Part 3. Childhood experiences can shape emotional sensitivity. Psychology also says that childhood plays a huge role in emotional sensitivity. People who grew up in emotionally stressful environments, strict households, or homes where they constantly felt misunderstood often become emotionally reactive later in life. Why? Because the brain learns to stay emotionally alert. Even small conflicts can trigger strong emotional responses because their nervous system became trained to expect emotional pain. Sometimes, crying easily is not about weakness at all. It's years of emotional overload finally showing itself. And here's something many people don't realize. Some people cry easily not because they are fragile, but because they spent years trying to stay strong. Part 4. They often overthink everything. Another common psychological pattern? Overthinking. People who cry easily usually replay conversations, situations, and emotions repeatedly in their mind. They analyze tone, facial expressions, words, even tiny behavioral changes. Did I say something wrong? Are they upset with me? Why did they behave differently today? Their brain keeps processing emotions long after the moment is over. And eventually, all that emotional buildup turns into tears. This is why emotional people sometimes cry alone at night over things others forgot hours ago. Not because they want attention, but because their mind refuses to stop processing emotions. Part 5. Society trains people to hide emotions. Now here's where things get interesting. Society often teaches people that crying equals weakness, especially men. From childhood, many people hear things like, "Stop crying, be strong, real men don't cry." But psychology says suppressing emotions for long periods can actually increase stress, anxiety, emotional numbness, and even mental exhaustion. People who cry naturally are sometimes emotionally healthier than people who suppress everything. Because suppressed emotions do not disappear, they stay inside the body, and eventually they come out as anger, stress, burnout, or emotional breakdowns. In many cases, tears are healthier than emotional silence. And maybe that's why some of the calmest-looking people are secretly carrying the heaviest emotional pain. Part 6. People who cry easily may have higher emotional intelligence. Now, this fact surprises many people. Studies in psychology suggest emotionally expressive people may actually have higher emotional intelligence. Why? Because emotional intelligence is not about never crying. It's about understanding emotions, both your own and other people's. People who cry easily are often better at understanding emotional pain, comforting others, building deep relationships, and sensing emotional changes in people. Many emotionally sensitive people become great friends, great listeners, great partners, and sometimes even great leaders. Because people trust those who genuinely feel human emotions. And ironically, the people society calls too emotional are often the people who understand emotions the best. Part 7. People who cry easily may be crying because they feel lonely inside. Sometimes tears are not about the situation itself. They come from accumulated emotional loneliness. A person may look normal outside, smile daily, talk normally, but internally feel emotionally disconnected. And then one small emotional moment suddenly triggers tears. Not because of that moment alone, but because the heart was already heavy. Psychologists say humans have a deep need to feel emotionally understood. And when people feel unheard for long periods, their emotions become more sensitive. Sometimes tears are simply the heart asking, "Can someone finally understand me?" Part 8. Crying does not make someone weak. Let's destroy one of the biggest myths right now. Crying is not weakness. In fact, constantly pretending to be emotionless often requires hiding pain, stress, fear, and vulnerability. That's not strength. That's emotional masking. Real emotional strength means being human enough to feel emotions honestly. And remember this carefully. People who cry easily are not always weak people. Sometimes they are people who care too much, love too deeply, think too heavily, or carry invisible emotional battles nobody knows about. The strongest hearts are not always the coldest ones. Sometimes the strongest hearts are the softest. So, the next time someone cries easily, don't judge them too quickly. Because behind emotional people, there is often a deep mind, a caring heart, untold stress, hidden loneliness, or emotional strength nobody notices. And maybe, if you are someone who cries easily, there is nothing wrong with you at all. You simply feel emotions more deeply than most people. And in a world becoming emotionally numb, that might actually be rare. If you enjoyed this video, comment below, "Emotions are strength," and subscribe for more psychology videos that reveal the hidden truths about human behavior, emotions, and the mind. Because sometimes understanding psychology helps us understand ourselves.